The music mogul who once traveled by private jet to all those mansions is now in a jail that is notorious for its bad living conditions.
The hip-hop mogul is said to be under watch for his own safety at the Metropolitan Detention Center in New York City.
It's so out of control inside that 4 federal judges are reportedly refusing to send any more prisoners.
Say hooray, because it looks like Diddy's crimes are finally catching up to him.
Denied bail in connection with the abuse and sex trafficking charges he faces. And as Les Trump reports, the music mogul who once traveled by private jet to all those...
Diddy is apparently refusing meals. I don't know if it's all of them, but he's refusing some of them, and he's been reportedly looking a lot thinner. Why?
The tea about Diddy's tough time at the MDC is spilling, and it's a lot. Word is, he had a major meltdown after being attacked behind bars. Sources close to him say he's dealing with some dark thoughts and is downright terrified, especially now that Jay-Z and JLo might be called as witnesses. According to the Daily Mail, spending these past 4 months in jail was a nightmare that Diddy couldn't escape.
A report from the Daily Mail, that's why Diddy had a breakdown. A person close to him apparently said, quote, spending the holidays behind bars was a nightmare for him. If we're to believe all this, Diddy had a meltdown in his cell and begged the guards to take him to the hospital for observation, but they refused.
Just like what you heard, a close friend said he had a meltdown in his cell, begging the guards to take him to the hospital, but they turned him down. Eventually, he managed to calm himself down using meditation techniques he's picked up in jail. Deep breathing and focusing helped him snap out of it after hours of struggle. This isn't the first time Diddy's mental health has been a concern while behind bars. When he first got to the jail, he was put on suicide watch, which involves constant monitoring for safety. After that, he was moved to a special protective unit for a few weeks, but is now in the general population, where most inmates stay. That's reportedly where this recent breakdown happened.
Savage! I'm a savage! Oh! I'm a savage! Whatever I want, I'm going to get! Whatever I want, I have to get!
Adding more to the drama, other prisoners have started filing lawsuits against Diddy. One shocking claim came from Jonathan Oddie, a man arrested in 2018 after a shooting at Trump's National Doral golf course. During an interrogation, Jonathan alleged Diddy forced him into being an S-slave and that the so-called gay mafia in Hollywood pressured him into committing crimes.
Sean Combs.
Puff Daddy.
Yeah.
P. Diddy, whatever you call himself these days. Yeah, go ahead.
The man who allegedly opened fire inside of one of former President Donald Trump's Florida hotels several years ago made some wild statements to law enforcement in his interviews, saying he was a slave for Sean Diddy.
Another jaw-dropping claim has emerged as another prisoner, Cardello Smith, is suing Diddy, and his story is nothing short of wild. Cardello, currently in jail for alleged SA, says Diddy framed him for the crime. Oh, and here's the kicker. Cardello actually won a $100 million lawsuit against Diddy, but Diddy's legal team is fighting back to overturn the decision. Drama, right? Cardello claims it all started back in 1997 at a party at a Holiday Inn in Detroit, where he worked as a bartender. According to him, Diddy orchestrated the alleged mistreatment and even filmed it. And guess who he says saw the tape? None other than Jennifer Lopez herself. Yep, Cardello alleges JLo knew about the video, but stayed silent, never going to the authorities or offering any help. In his lawsuit, Cardello states that Jennifer Lynn Lopez, yes, Jenny from the block, will be called as a key witness. He accuses her of knowing about the tape, which he claims was recorded, distributed, and stored at Diddy's New York home and studio. He also says that during her relationship with Diddy from 1999 to 2001, JLo was fully aware of the tape's existence. To add even more spice, Cardello alleges that a New York detective, Derek Palmer, questioned JLo about this video, and according to him, she admitted it was real. Cardello isn't stopping there. He wants Detective Palmer to testify, believing his statement could be the key to proving his case.
You're looking at, they're all tied in together. Every part, as crazy as this seems, as outrageous as it seems, it all ties in. Every bit of it, every facet.
A man who's been in and out of prison since the 90s and is known in the Michigan criminal justice system for filing multiple lawsuits and appeals has a new target in his sights, Sean Diddy Combs. As
I mentioned earlier, Diddy's legal team is pushing hard to have this entire case tossed out. But Cardello Smith isn't backing down. Oh no, he's fired back with a massive response that's over 200 pages long. And get this, about half of it is just straight-up copies of legal case laws that seem to back his arguments word for word, like something straight out of a law textbook. It's a lot to sift through, but I'll give you the juicy highlights. But before we dive in, let me ask you something. Have you ever Googled your name and been shocked by how much personal info is out there? Old addresses, phone numbers, and emails that you thought were long gone? It's all sitting there, ready for anyone to find. I know someone who discovered their name, phone number, and an old address listed on a shady data broker site, and trying to remove it was a nightmare. They eventually paid for a privacy service, which cost a fortune. It's unsettling how easy someone can access your private details without you knowing. That's where Aura comes in. Aura helps remove your personal information from risky data broker sites that sell your info to scammers and identity thieves. But it doesn't stop there. Aura monitors the dark web for signs of your data being misused and alerts you immediately if anything suspicious pops up, so you can act fast. Aura also offers up to $5 million in identity theft protection coverage and real-time alerts for financial fraud. Plus, you get a secure VPN, antivirus, and a password manager all in one app. Don't wait until it's too late. Click the link in the description or visit aura.com/BingeCentral for a 14-day free trial. Stay safe and keep your personal info where it belongs. Going back, aside from the shocking SAN cover-up allegations, Cardello goes even further. He claims that Diddy was not just a criminal mastermind, but also very aggressive towards his loved ones. In his filing, Cardello talks about the terrifying threats Diddy allegedly made against his family, and even goes so far as to say that Diddy caused serious injuries to his brother. Cardello's response is packed with chilling details. He writes that Sean Combs used threats of murder to scare him into silence, keeping him from bringing the case to court or law enforcement until his homes and associates were raided by Homeland Security. That's when Cardello says he finally felt it was safe enough to speak up. But here's the kicker. Cardello argues that the main reason he waited so long to report the alleged mistreatment was out of fear, for both his own safety and the safety of his family. He believes that fear should be enough to throw any issues with the statute of limitations right out the window. And if that wasn't enough, Cardello adds that while he's been in prison, other inmates and guards have allegedly been threatening him on behalf of Diddy the Diddler, making the already dangerous situation even worse.
Daddy, bad boy, Diddy run the city, Sean Combs, also known as Sean Puffy Combs. And this is file number 24-7362NO. I'll grab your paperwork here real quick out of this other paperwork. We do have Mr. Cardello Smith appearing from the Michigan Department of Corrections. Sir, where are you currently located?
I'm located at the Ernest C. Brooks Correctional Facility, 2500 South Sheridan Drive, Muskegon, Michigan, 49444, ma'am.
All right, thank you, sir.
Or your honor.
Thank you. So I do see that we do have a proof of service on Mr. Combs, but for purposes of this hearing, you filed a motion for a temporary restraining order and or a preliminary injunction to stop all sales of the property and assets attached to or involved with.
Now let's take a minute to think about this. If an ex-prisoner is already trembling in fear by just speaking out, how much more terrifying must it be for the thousands of victims who've stayed silent for years? Some have even asked, why did it take them so long to come forward? Well, here's your answer. If you're worried about ending up in jail or, let's be real, 6 feet under, you might just keep your mouth shut too. The fear of retaliation is real, and it's one of the reasons why so many victims have been forced to carry these dark secrets for so long. But now, Diddy's crimes? They're finally catching up to him. Wild rumors are surfacing that Diddy is actually being attacked in prison, especially now that he's been moved to the general population. Yeah, you heard that right. Diddy, once a superstar with millions of adoring fans, is now just another inmate in the system. In the harsh world behind bars, that fame, it doesn't matter at all. The people around him don't care about his name or his bank account. He's just a guy trying to survive in an environment where every day is a battle. And the smallest things, like fighting for a spot in line or even a seat at mealtime, can spark brutality. Former prisoners have shared their chilling experiences of living in constant fear, not knowing when the next brutal fight or brawl will erupt. It's a dangerous world where people are always on edge, and for someone like Diddy, a high-profile target, the danger is even more intense. His celebrity status has made him a magnet for hostility and threats from people who have nothing to lose. These guys are already serving long sentences, some even life, and they're desperate to make a name for themselves in the prison world.
Chair, you have your bed with a 1.5-inch mattress, no pillow, and you also have a locker. So you basically have 3 feet by 5 feet to move around. So you have a basic 15 square feet. It is a horrible.
According to ex-prisoners, Diddy's daily routine in the general population is a complete 180 from the life of luxury he once lived. His wake-up call rings at 6 a.m. sharp, and let's be real, he's probably not getting much rest before then. The prison is eerily quiet at night, with only the occasional scream breaking the silence, snapping Diddy awake from his restless sleep. Imagine trying to sleep on a 1.5-inch mattress, no pillow, with the constant tension of never knowing what might happen next. It's a far cry from his former $40 million mansion, where he woke up surrounded by soft sheets, expansive rooms, and amenities like a theater, a beauty salon, and even a pool with an underground water tunnel. That world seems like a distant memory now. In his current cell, Diddy's reality is far harsher. The cell likely doesn't have any natural light, just a harsh strip light above him, casting a cold, sterile glow. The bed, bolted to the floor and made of iron, offers no comfort. The only luxury he has is a tiny all-in-one ensuite with a sink and a toilet, and that's about it. He spends 23 hours a day in this tiny claustrophobic space, alone with nothing but 4 concrete walls and occasional visitors, like cockroaches. Honestly, who knows? Maybe Diddy's gotten so lonely, he's even named one by now. Strange coping mechanisms like that can happen when you're isolated for so long. Family visits and lawyer consultations are about the only relief Diddy gets, but even that can't take away the constant grind of prison life. Every morning he has to make his bed, mop the floor, and keep the toilet and sink clean. For a man who once had staff to do everything for him, it must feel like a hard pill to swallow. And let's not forget about food. Forget about fine dining. Now Diddy's meals are served through a small hole in the door. Gone are the days of caviar and Michelin-star dinners. Instead, he gets powdered scrambled eggs, cheap white bread, milk, and sweet juice. Definitely not a 5-star spread. His 3 daily meals barely add up to 1,800 calories, which by law is the minimum requirement. But there's a major downside. The food is rarely served hot, and it's far from appetizing. Instead of gourmet dishes, he's stuck with mystery meat and cold hot dogs, things that are just about as appetizing as they sound. There are even reports of maggots being found in the food, which is definitely a nightmare for anyone, let alone a guy who's used to eating in some of the world's finest restaurants. But hey, Diddy does have some perks. Even though the situation is grim, his money still gives him some advantages. He has access to the prison commissary, where he can buy a variety of items: candy, coffee, tea, and snacks. It's a small luxury that helps break up the monotony. He can also purchase things like clothing and a radio to ease the pain of isolation, but even that has limits. For a man who was once known for wearing a $500,000 diamond-studded gold chain, being restricted to a $160 budget every 2 weeks probably feels like a slap in the face. Sure, it's a lot of money for most people, but for Diddy, who once spent millions on a whim, it's barely a drop in the ocean. With such a small budget, he'll have to make some tough choices about what he buys from the commissary. Maybe he'll splurge on snacks or coffee, but it's nothing compared to the lavish lifestyle he once knew. Now, when it comes to personal hygiene, things aren't exactly glamorous for Diddy behind bars. Inmates have reported that the showers at the MDC are, well, disgusting. Imagine stepping into a place filled with mold, grimy tiles, and the kind of smell you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy. For someone who's likely spent hours at luxurious spas, soaking in hot tubs and enjoying massages, this is a major downgrade. The poorly ventilated room, mixed with the scent of unflushed fecal matter, and the overall lack of cleanliness, must be a whole new world for him. The plumbing problems are also a nightmare. In 1 month alone, the facility had to put in 800 work orders to fix broken pipes, showing just how bad the situation really is. It's not just about the lack of hygiene. It's about the general disrepair that makes everything worse. Diddy, who's probably never had to worry about a leaky faucet, is now dealing with issues that go way beyond a clogged drain. And it's not just the showers that are horrendous. The MDC has earned a sinister nickname over the years: Hell on Earth. Since it opened in 1994, it's been known for its brutality, and not much has changed since then. The conditions inside the prison are some of the worst, with reports of inadequate supervision and poor medical care for inmates. A former prisoner shared the chilling truth that stabbings are shockingly common, with people getting stabbed at least a couple of times a week. These aren't just random altercations either. Inmates often carry homemade knives, which can range from 6 to 9 inches long. And let's not forget the horror stories. In one devastating incident, an inmate was stabbed multiple times, and instead of getting medical help, he was placed on a 25-day lockdown. No immediate care, just punishment. It's a cruel reminder of how savage life inside can be. Things only get darker when you realize that corruption is also rampant in the system. 6 correctional officers were fired in the last 5 years for smuggling contraband into the facility, including phones, illegal substances, razors, and scalpels. It's hard to trust anyone when you have officers who are even part of gangs themselves, further adding chaos to an already unstable situation. The level of savagery and corruption is so severe that judges are actually hesitant to send prisoners to the MDC. But with the Metropolitan Correctional Center being closed and high-profile prisoners like Jeffrey Epstein having been housed there, the MDC remains one of the only places where people like Diddy end up. Aside from all the harsh conditions in prison, there's another drama that's been making rounds saying that Diddy had an altercation with his new cellmate, Luigi Mangione. Now, if you don't know this guy, he's facing some extremely serious charges, including the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. After being transferred from a facility in Pennsylvania, he ended up sharing the same space as Diddy at the Metropolitan Detention Center. And unlike Diddy, who's struggling to keep his head above water, Luigi seems to have become quite popular among the inmates. While Diddy is trying to survive under the weight of negativity, Luigi is surrounded by supporters and even seems to have a more comfortable time in the facility. So what's behind Luigi's newfound popularity? It turns out that many of the inmates at the detention center have found common ground with him, especially over shared struggles. A lot of these prisoners can relate to Luigi's story, particularly when it comes to losing loved ones due to inadequate health care. This emotional connection has made him somewhat of a hero in their eyes. What's even more interesting is the fact that both Diddy and Luigi share a surprisingly connected defense lawyer, Agnifilo. That's right, both Diddy and Luigi are under the watchful eyes of a legal power couple. Diddy's case is being handled by Mark Agnifilo, a defense attorney who's no stranger to the spotlight with his track record of high-profile cases. But here's the plot twist. Luigi's defense team is led by none other than Mark's wife, Karen Friedman Agnifilo. Yep, the same legal couple is representing both of these notorious figures in what could be one of the most fascinating legal tag teams ever. And speaking of defense teams, Diddy's legal team is doing everything they can, especially now that the prosecution team is calling Jay-Z and JLo as witnesses. These aren't just your average names, folks. These are the powerhouses tied to some of Diddy's most infamous past cases. Let's not forget that 1999 nightclub shooting, where the victim pointed the finger at both Diddy and JLo as prime suspects. And guess what? The victim is now demanding that JLo take the stand, as if the drama wasn't already reaching an all-time high. But hold up, it doesn't end there. Jay-Z's name is tangled in the mess too. Recently, Jay-Z was slapped with a lawsuit claiming he and Diddy essayed a 13-year-old after the infamous VMA party back in the early 2000s. The allegations are nothing short of jaw-dropping. Jay's legal team has been working overtime to clear his name, but the tension is palpable. As much as they've been pushing to prove Jay's innocence, the shadow of this dark cloud continues to loom over him.
Tonight, Jay-Z's attorney, Alex Spiro, is pushing to get a judge to dismiss the suit against his client, citing an NBC News exclusive that found inconsistencies with the accuser's account.
We expect Mr. Carter to be fully cleared of all of this in the coming days. Almost nothing that she says has checked out because this never happened.
This in the wake of our interview with a 38-year-old mother from Alabama who accuses Jay-Z, whose real name is Sean Carter, and Sean Diddy Combs, of her when she was 13 years old.
As for Diddy, he's still waiting for his big trial, which is scheduled for this spring. His legal team are also working overtime, gathering every shred of evidence they can find to prove his innocence. One of their main arguments? That some key videos in the case actually back up Diddy's side of the story, claiming that he's not guilty of the charges against him. According to legal documents obtained by Page 6, Diddy's defense team argues that these videos show intimate moments between two consenting adults, Diddy and his longtime girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, who's often referred to as Victim 1 in the case. The lawyers say the footage demonstrates that Cassie was not only okay with what happened, but actually enjoyed it, pushing back against the accusations of wrongdoing. Now, here's where things get a little tricky. The core issue in the case revolves around whether Diddy kept these videos. There's been a lot of back and forth on whether Diddy kept the footage for himself or if it was stored somewhere else. Diddy's defense is adamant that the 9 videos in question don't even exist on his devices. They claim none of the footage was found during the federal raid on his homes in early 2024. Instead, Diddy's team argues that Cassie kept the videos on her personal devices all these years. What's more, they say she actually gave the videos to the authorities herself. But here's another piece of the puzzle. Diddy's team insists that Cassie was not just a willing participant in these videos, but that she appeared evidently happy, dominant, and completely in control. They say this proves there was no coercion or manipulation involved. According to Diddy's defense, there's no evidence of mistreatment, threats, or any kind of force in the footage, which they say should clear him of the accusations. Now, despite all of this, there's still a lot of mixed feelings surrounding the situation. Sure, Cassie might have been enjoying the moment captured in those videos, but let's be real. Diddy's reputation for being intimidating and controlling casts a long shadow. Some might argue that in a relationship like theirs, it could be hard to say no, even if she appeared happy in the footage. So what do you think? Is Diddy handling the pressure of prison life well, or is it driving him insane? And what about this case? Do you believe Diddy's defense? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And while we wait for more updates, don't forget to like and subscribe for all the latest on this jaw-dropping case.